to draw Oogie Boogie. Okay, guys, get your pens, get your pencils, your crayons, get your iPads and tablets and Apple Pens ready.
The third row has lots of seats.
Go ahead and use all three doors, folks, and head all the way down the stairs, once inside, once again, all the way.
It looks like we fit 4 people in the blue row, 3 people in the green row. If you have a big group right now, I'm recommending the red row. It has the most amount of seats. All right, well, how's everybody doing today? Good?
You're my boy, Blue.
Good, glad to hear it. I'd like to officially welcome you all into the Animation Academy. My name is Mia. I'm going to be your host for this class. And today we're going to be drawing a very spooky character from Halloween Town. He's so spooky, he's filled with bugs. What's his name?
Oogie Boogie.
Oogie Boogie. Yes, we're going to be drawing Mr. Oogie Boogie for this class. But before we draw, we're going to go over a few things. Over here at the very top of the stage, you'll see my friend Manny. Everyone say hi, Manny.
Hi, Manny.
Manny is another one of our amazing artists here, as well as our TA for this class. And right now, he's up at the top to show you your one and only exit. If you need to leave, you're going to give the third door a big push. It'll send you right back outside, just like Manny is showing you. But both me and Manny will be here throughout the entire class. So if your pencil breaks, rolls into the seat, anything like that, raise your hand up nice and high. One of us will be there to help you. Now, if this is your first visit here, you're going to notice that we're missing something on our pencils. What is that? An eraser. Yeah, we don't need erasers here because we draw in a rough sketch style. Now, what that means is we're going to be drawing very light on our page. We're going to start off with basic shapes, and then we're going to build on top of that so we can add detail later on. Now, with all this in mind, is everyone ready to draw? Yes, all right, let's get started. Now, Oogie's gonna start on our page with a circle. And keep in mind, this does not need to be a perfect circle because he is not Jack and his head is not a circle. We're gonna be adding a lot of details on top of this. So I'm gonna start first with this circle right in the center of the page. About the center third is pretty good. You want some room above and below so we can add that detail. And then we need to add some construction lines. Now the first line is a C curve going about a third of the way from the side. And then a big U going about a third of the way from the bottom. Now these lines tell us a lot about Oogie already, and the first thing that they're telling us is that he's looking mostly off to the left. This is what we call a 3/4 view, meaning that he's not looking straight at us, but mostly to the left-hand side, so that we can see more of the right-hand side of his face. We're then gonna bring up from this big U here, his first feature, which is gonna be his eyebrows. Now his eyebrows are gonna be big diagonals that go from this U and up to the top of our circle there. Now, by bringing the eyebrows down in the middle of his face, it gives us this level of aggression and anger that we typically see with Oogie. But straight lines are very rarely seen on characters, so I'm going to start to round this out by making this into more of an S curve. And you're going to notice that I'm also pushing down on my pencil. This is what we refer to as locking in. Locking in really just means that I'm tracing over my favorite lines as I darken them in. And you're going to notice that all of the light lines really start to fade into the background as the dark lines stand out. This is our goal, so if you're not a big fan of something on your page, just leave it light and it can disappear. We're then going to go around, we're going to add a big U underneath this, the big C curve that goes back up. Now these are going to give us his eye sockets. He doesn't actually have any eyes because, you know, he's a lot like Jack and Zero. Just kind of filling in that space. He doesn't even have organs, like we mentioned, he is filled with bugs. So I actually like to shade in that space there. If you wanted to have bugs going on the inside of his eyes, you definitely can. But to simplify the drawing, I like to leave it nice and dark to show that he is also filled with darkness, right? It kind of shows us into his soul. Very, very dark. Then we're going to surround this, and we need to thicken out his eyebrows. Now by furrowing them, this will really show that attitude. And we also want to add some more sharp lines to our drawings. Starting first, I'm going to bring across a bunch of straight diagonal lines going around the eyebrow. Now by having these be very pointy eyebrows, it actually does show us that level of aggression again, but in a different way. Because typically in animation, the way a character looks also tells us about their personality. And sharp characters are usually very sharp personalities and typically are villains. This is what you see throughout all of Disney, right? If you look at Maleficent, she is covered in sharp points because she would curse your baby, right? So you're not supposed to trust her. But other characters like Mickey Mouse or even the princesses, they're very round to show that you can trust them, and it makes them look very welcoming. So Oogie's got those points. We're gonna go from those eyebrows, and I'm gonna bring down his cheekbones. His cheekbones are also very sharp. They're like Angelina Jolie style. So we're gonna bring down these upside down candy canes. They curve down to the U and then back up. At this point, we're actually done with the sides of his head. We're gonna start to move down, and to complete the bottom, we need to start to give him his smile. Now his smile starts with a very light U that's gonna go from one cheekbone to the other. And one thing that we see with Oogie is that he is in fact filled with bugs, but the outside of him is essentially like a burlap sack. He kind of looks like a potato sack of a person, right? So when we add this mouth, it's not gonna be very still. Instead, we're gonna see a lot of movement. And this shows us that he is made out of fabric. So I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna add some waves to this. And there's no perfect way to add this detail. Because it's fabric, it moves around a lot. Throughout the whole film, the more he laughs and sings and talks, this fabric is going to rotate and shift. So feel free to make yours look a little bit different than mine. We're gonna do the same thing here. One more time below, I'm going to add a big U. To show that his mouth is open though, we're gonna add 2 waves to this. So I'm gonna start on this U here, and I'm gonna add that big wave. And I'm gonna thicken this out with the same shape one more time. And that gives us his lower lip, and it shows us that his mouth is wide open, which we can shade in as well. Again, feel free to add some bugs, or you can add a different little critter in there. In fact, does anyone know what his tongue is? It's a snake. Yeah, it's not a bug at all. It's a snake, which might even be more threatening to you. But you can definitely add that in there as well. But what I think is really interesting about Oogie is he wasn't originally supposed to be filled with any of those creepy things. He was actually supposed to be filled with a person in the very beginning. Oogie Boogie was originally a costume that was going to be worn by a different character in this film. Does anyone know who was supposed to wear this costume?
The mayor.
Not the mayor, not Jack. I was like, I think I heard it. It's not Santa Claus, it's the Dr. Finkelstein. Now, if you don't know that character, this is actually the creator of Sally. He's like the Dr. Frankenstein in this film. And in the original version of this story, he created Sally to essentially be his housewife, right? She was supposed to take care of him. And when she started gazing over and falling in love with Jack, he got very jealous, so he created the character of Oogie Boogie, put on this costume, and designed this character to essentially ruin Jack's life. So he would wear this costume, and at the very end, they would take off the mask and reveal that it was him the whole time, kind of like a Scooby-Doo moment. And they really liked this idea because it gave them a kind of whodunit. It made it into like a mystery. However, the movie was getting very long. In fact, most of the time animated films are supposed to be about an hour and a half. That's because they think that children can't sit in the theater for more than an hour and a half. But as a whole, they thought the movie was getting way too long, so they decided to cut something out, and they really liked Oogie Boogie the way that he was. The fact that he was very fun, he had this great personality, they didn't feel like it needed to be a mystery, so they decided to cut it out and make Oogie Boogie his own character. And I do think it was very smart, but you could see different versions of this like in deleted scenes on like YouTube if you want to check it out. Now at this point, we need to start to build up his silhouette, which actually starts below his cheekbones. I'm gonna bring down some big rainbows on the sides here. And I'm gonna add a little bit more movement to this to make it look like fabric. He's got very wide shoulders. And then we're gonna go below his mouth and we're going to add his jowls, which is essentially loose fabric that goes from the bottom of his smile, and it goes down like 3 or 4 of these lines. Just making sure they get smaller on the bottom than they are on the top. From there, the last part of his silhouette is at the top of his head. We need to then add the point that he has. Now, Oogie's kind of like a star, where he has a point on the top, some on the sides, and on the bottom. He comes to 5 of those points, and the only one we're really gonna see is on the top of his head. Starting first, I'm gonna go above the right eyebrow, and you wanna bring across a bunch of flat lines to eventually make a rainbow that goes all the way past his left eyebrow. We wanna make this look kind of like the hill that Jack and Sally stand on by bringing this across with a U and connecting this back to the circle. So it's gonna point off to the side. And this little shape here was actually given to him to make him look like a different character. Who does he kind of look like? Santa Claus, exactly. They designed Oogie to essentially be the anti-Santa. And you could see this throughout the entire design. This kind of looks like Santa's hat. They both have very wide shoulders. Oogie's jowls could be confused for Santa's beard. And all of this together really made them they compared the two of them and the holidays, right? If we were to shade in this entire thing and play Who's That Pokemon, you're probably gonna think this is Santa Claus. And that's exactly what they wanted, because it shows you that Halloween is very different than Christmas by comparing just the two of them, right? Santa's handing out gifts, Oogie Boogie is like torturing people, right? Very, very different vibes, and that's what they agreed as well. Now I'm gonna add some seams in his design. Right now he's looking a little too new, a little too fresh. So I'm going to add a seam on the top of his head as well as on both shoulders. And you want to fill these seams with stitches. And the more stitches you give your Oogie, the creepier he's gonna look. So I recommend adding quite a few, just going across and adding some X's and some diagonal lines, making him look nice and spooky. We can also do this around his mouth. His mouth has all of these little lines as well. But there is a theory that these are not stitches, but instead these are strings that the bugs use to control his mouth. Because after they decided to get rid of that Dr. Finkelstein story, we can even see in the created film, the one that's actually out, in that version, we get to see that the bugs are in charge. They can actually operate without this shell around him, without that burlap. So maybe they are using these little strings to open up his mouth because he's essentially their puppet. But anything else you want to give your Oogie from here is considered extra credit. I do think it doesn't quite look like him unless we add at least one little critter. So I'm going to add a little spider dangling off of his hat. We typically see this and it's like that comparison back to Santa. Instead of a little fluff, he's got a little spider. So I like to add 2 little circles and 8 legs. If you want to give a little bit more texture to your drawing, burlap is a very harsh texture and it kind of looks like it's weaved together. So I want to add a bunch of these little crisscross lines, kind of like cross-hatching. And it looks like a bunch of hashtags or pound signs, depending on your age. And anything else you want to add for your Oogie from here is considered extra credit. If you want to add a little bit more shading, you can make him look more spooky. You can put the moon behind him. He likes to hang out there. But the last thing that we all need on our page is a signature. So whenever you're done, find a spot on your page and sign your name, nice and proud. And that's it. You drew your very own Oogie Boogie. Now, I would love to see all of your amazing drawings, so we're gonna do a bit of an art show. On the count of 3, I want you to lift up your boards nice and proud so we can see how you did, all right? Even if you're still working on your extra credit. Ready? 1, 2, 3, Oogie Boogie! Yes, he's like amazing. Great job with the eyes all around. They're looking furious. Great job with the smiles. He got a nice evil laugh going on. I'm loving the shoulders. I'm doing a great job with the fabric as well. The shading looks so good. He's like fantastic. Give yourself a big round of applause. You look amazing. Great job. Now you have officially passed the Animation Academy, which means you're welcome to come back whenever you like. Hopefully we see you again today, but this class is dismissed. Bye everybody.